Welcome to SalinaRadio.com, recorded right here in Celina, Texas, a quiet little dusty, sleepy town that has absolutely nothing going on. Guys, I am so totally kidding about that. Of course, this is Celina, Texas, and we have everything going on here. Now, I'm Ron Lyons. This is SalinaRadio.com, and we intend to have a good time. So put on your seatbelt, and let's get started. It sounds hilarious to say Celina, Texas is a small, sleepy, dusty little town, but there was a time, not that long ago, that Celina, Texas more or less did resemble that. And that time for me was 1993. And I remember it like it was yesterday because I had come to Celina from Dallas as a police officer. And I remember very, very distinctly my first night riding out with my FTO, coming into the downtown square where Papagayos is now, and seeing right in front of the squad car a pickup truck with tons of teenage boys in it, some in the cab, some standing in the bed, and some on the ground in front of the truck. And as they were driving along, the boys standing in the bed of the truck actually had a rope lasso, and they were trying to lasso the boys that were running in front of the truck. And this was going on all the way into and around the square. I looked at my FTO and I literally felt like I was in Oz or something. I was like, what in the heck is this place? He just smiled at me with one of those really knowing smiles and said, "Welcome to Celina, Texas." So episode 1 of SalinaRadio.com did fantastic, and I have you to thank for that. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for liking it. Thank you for sharing it with other people that you know. And it's been a humbling and amazing experience. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you continue to enjoy this show. We've got so many things planned for it. And as promised on episode 1, I sat down with one of the candidates for Celina City Council. His name is Philip Ferguson, and I didn't want to sit down and just talk to him about his platform and his perspectives and views. You can get all of that on the door hangers and on the Facebook page and all of that stuff. My goal was to sit down with Philip and find out more about the person, the human being behind that name that we see on all those signs. So we met at Lucy's on the square and talked about all kinds of things. Mostly we talked about his passion for Celina, Texas, but we may have also talked just a little bit about Star Wars. That's right, Star Wars. So I am here at Lucy's restaurant, Lucy's on the square in Celina, Texas, with Philip Ferguson. Philip, how are you doing?
Well, it's Thursday. It's almost the weekend, so that's always a good thing. And early voting's coming up soon, so looking forward to that too.
So I know it's an exciting time for you. Let's talk about Lucy's first. Obviously, you can hear the background noise. People are actually in here right now. They're eating. They're kind of enjoying their meals. They're probably getting very entertained by the fact that we're sitting here talking right now with all of this equipment. But are you a regular at Lucy's?
Yeah, we've become a regular. There's karaoke nights every other Wednesday. So that's typically the night you'll find me here. Not that I'm the world's greatest singer. In fact, I would say I'm one of the worst. But it's a good time. Hang out with friends, meet new people, and just have a good time with locals.
So give me an idea. What's the best thing on the menu?
Oh man, Lucy's. That's a tough one to pick. Their burger's great. I've had that before. Their chicken salad is outstanding. They're kind of known for their pies. So dessert's always good too. So you can't go wrong. You'll find something you like here.
So this kind of, in my opinion, Lucy's kind of epitomizes Celina. Like, I've been here since '93. You've been here for some time yourself. When did you get to Celina?
I moved here in 2014.
In 2014, and you've got a pretty busy life right now. Give me a little bit of an idea of what's going on in Philip Ferguson's world.
Yeah, there's always something. So, besides work, what's funny is a lot of people think I work for the city because I share a lot of stuff on social media if it's promoting an event or a new business or something like that. So it's funny when I run into people, they're like, oh, what do you do for the city? And it's like, well, I do nothing. I'm a private citizen. But, I like to see everyone in Celina prosper and do well and so forth. But my day job is I work for a large insurance company and in marketing for small business accounts with insurance agents. So I work with insurance agents who work with insureds, basically. So that's my day job. Besides that, I kind of threw myself into volunteer work in Celina. Not too long after I moved here, it kind of started off doing some work with Main Street downtown, and ballooned into some other areas. Politically, I stay active. I'm a local precinct chairman for the Republican Party here as well. And outside of Celina, I've done junior achievement work for a number of years, and just all kinds of stuff all over the place. I just like to stay busy. Nothing wrong with sitting back and relaxing every so often, but I don't like to stay still for too long.
So one of the biggest things that you've got going on right now is you're running for city council.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it pretty much eats up every minute of free time you might have. So what brought me to it is for a number of years, people have been asking me to run for city council just because of my work I've done on Main Street and some other thing, and making sure Celina is the best it can be, where I can make a difference. But this particular seat, Place 1, it's called. The existing city council person was not running for re-election, so it was going to be an open seat. And some of the other volunteer work I've been doing, related to Main Street and downtown events, and also I'm the president of our HOA. So a lot of that work was kind of coming to its natural end or winding down. So late last year, I started thinking to myself, well, what's next for me? I still want to contribute to the city and try to make it the best it can be. And this seat was going to be open, so I thought, well, the timing makes sense to try to take the next step forward and see what happens. So yeah, we've been busy the last few months doing city council stuff.
What for people who don't know and obviously are going to be very interested, when is the election day? Do you know when can we go vote?
Yeah, that's a great question. So depending on when you hear this broadcast, early voting starts on Monday, April 25th. It'll last through Tuesday, May the 3rd, and then the election day itself is Saturday, May the 7th. So typically here in Celina, you'll have about 50% of the total vote will do the early voting, and 50% will turn out on election day. So starting Monday the 25th, over that next 2 weeks, basically, is when everyone will be going to the polls. And local elections tend to be a smaller turnout, which means every vote matters more. Sometimes people think city council, local races don't matter too much, but hopefully they all saw during COVID that decisions made by our local officials are the ones that impact our lives the most. So to me, city council, school board, and DA are probably the most important races that folks should vote in. So anyways, they'll have their opportunity here coming up. 2 seats for city council, 2 seats for school district. There's some constitutional amendments on there, the city charters on there. So there's a lot to vote on.
Okay, that sounds great. We're not going to get a whole lot into platform and stuff like that. If people want to go out there and learn more about you, what's the best way for them to, find out what you stand for, what your views are, or maybe just to reach out to you personally? Do you have means that you would like for them to use? Yeah,
that's a great question. So I have a campaign Facebook page. It's called Philip Ferguson for Celina City Council, Place 1. Clever title, right? But that's the campaign Facebook page. So there's a lot of information on there people can look at whenever they want. My personal cell phone's listed on there as well. So I'd encourage folks just to send me a text, call. If you see me walking around town, just stop and ask, and I'm always willing to have a conversation. So just reach out.
Do you want to share your phone number right now? Would you like to share that here so people? It may be a little easier. Honestly, it'd probably take me about 20 minutes to find that page. But if I had a phone number, I might just text you right away.
Yeah, the phone number it's 469-667-3918.
Okay, that sounds good. And so, like I said, we're not going to get a whole lot into platform stuff. All of that, I'm certain you've got all that out there. We're gonna find out a little more about who Philip Ferguson is, other than the guy running for council, other than the volunteer, other than the guy who works in the insurance field and stuff. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, and you are completely unprepared for these questions. I've not given them to you in advance, so you don't know what I'm going to ask.
Yep, I'm coming in cold.
Coming in cold, and I have a feeling that some of these are going to put a smile on your face. So you just give me your best answer as you can on each one of these,
right.
and I'm going to try and get through it without laughing as well. So first question: if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh man, that is a great question. Well, Celina is great. You know, we all choose it to. You know, we're all here for a reason. So Celina is a great place to live. But man, if you can live anywhere in the world, I think I might live on a cruise ship. And the reason why I say that is because you could sail around the world and see everything.
Okay, wow, I like that. That's good. Very, very interesting answer. I thought you were going to say something like Spain or something like that, maybe Greece or something. But yeah, a cruise ship. I like it.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, if you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would it be?
Wow, that's a great one. I tend to focus my learnings in history on more 20th century type stuff. So I think I would really, man, that is a tough one because there's so many to pick from.
What's the first one that comes to your mind?
As you were asking the question, the first one was Winston Churchill, because I've always been fascinated with him and his story of his life and everything that he dealt with. He'd be a great one. JFK would be a great one, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, probably any of our presidents. I mean, whether you like them or not, just the stuff that a president has to deal with is interesting. I mean, you've got some philosophers as well that would be great. Of course, plenty of historic or religious figures to pick from as well. So that's a tough one. I don't know.
So there's a lot of people that you'd like to sit down and have coffee with. What do you think right now? What do you think if you were to sit down with, let's say, Winston Churchill today, right across the square over there at the coffee shop? What do you think he would say about the world today? What do you think he would say?
I know that's a great question too. It's hard to say. I mean, they were dealing with World War II, possibility their country going away. That's pretty serious. We don't have to deal with that here in the U.S. We're not under active attack by foreign power or anything like that. One question that pops to mind that I would like to ask him is, I think during the darkest days of the British people, people look to him to stay inspired and stay motivated to keep the fight up. But where did he get his inspiration from? They're looking at him, but where's he looking? So I don't know the answer to that. It'd be a great question to ask him. Yeah, I'd be curious to know that.
Okay, well, tell me this: and I don't know if you like to write or not. I love to write. I like to create. I like to do things like that. But if you were going to write a book, what would you write a book about?
I'm not sure. I don't consider myself like an expert in one particular thing that I can give guidance on. That's what I'm thinking about when we think about writing a book.
Right. Maybe it's a fiction piece. Maybe it's something like that. Would you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's fiction, that opens up the world quite a bit. So I'm a bit of a geek and a nerd. I will admit. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Always have been since I saw the first movie in '77. Most people who know me know I'm a big Godzilla fan as well. Maybe there's a way to write a book that sort of blends Star Wars and Godzilla together. I think that would be an interesting special effects exercise.
So fire-breathing dragons and lightsabers and the Force.
So can a lightsaber stop Godzilla's atomic breath?
There you go.
That might be the question of our time.
There you go. Tell me this. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Wasting time.
Okay.
I hate to have time wasted. I stay pretty busy. For me, and I'm pretty structured in my time. I just hate wasting it. I try to find value wherever I can. And that doesn't mean you have to be busy nonstop. I mean, we all need our downtime, But to me, that's that can factor into wasting your time. I mean, if there's an hour that I just want to chill out and someone's wasting my time with something that I can't chill out about, I don't like that. So I don't like to have wasted time, wasted effort. I like things to be organized and structured and have a disciplined process about getting things done so time is not wasted.
So looking at our table right now with this big just hodgepodge of wires and things like that, does that drive you crazy, or are you okay with this?
No, it doesn't drive me crazy because I know what it's about. Of course, with all these wires, if one of us spill our drinks, we're probably going to get electrocuted here.
So that'd be a quick end to the campaign, quick end to the show.
Yeah.
A quick end to a lot of things.
So
let's
vote
don't
for
do
Phil.
that.
It's electrifying.
There you go. Tell me about if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice. What would that be?
I would tell 18-year-old Phil to try everything. I try to live by a policy of yes these days, so no matter what comes up, instead of finding reasons not to do stuff, I'm trying to find reasons to do stuff, So most things you try out in life is not going to kill you, and at least they make for an interesting story. So I would tell 18-year-old Phil to not be so focused on the path forward and maybe take some of the side roads and see where they take you.
That's good advice. I like that. I think I'd probably say something similar to myself, but you brought up something that you and I share in common, and I don't think you know this yet, but if you are the biggest Star Wars geek out there, I'm bigger. I actually,
I don't know about that.
I literally, if you cut me, I actually bleed Star Wars. So, yeah, at some point you're going to have to come check out. I've got such the collection of Star Wars stuff. And in my experience, is probably very similar to yours. Back in '77, A New Hope. Mm-hmm. And tell me about that. What's your memory of that, and what made it so amazing?
Yeah, so I would have been 6 years old at the time when the movie came out, and my brother and I, we had a pretty close friend named Jimmy McKenzie that lived down the street from us, and he went to see, back then you didn't get all the marketing and beat over the head with TV commercials and so forth like you do nowadays. So I vaguely remember, I knew Star Wars was a movie that was out there, some kind of space thing or whatever. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I remember Jimmy had come home from seeing the movie and could not stop talking about it, to the point where he got my brother and I just all riled up. So we were on my dad, we got to go see this movie, So we went and saw it, and you're just sitting there the whole time with like your just mouth open because it's something you never seen before, and it moves so fast in so many different directions and whatever. And then I just remember when it was over, the first thing that was running through my mind was, I have to see it again. If for nothing more, just to catch all the nuances that was going on. And, sometimes you have movies like that and they've got so much stuff going on, but it's irrelevant things, But Star Wars was cool because there'd be like one sentence, throwaway line, or even in the opening, the rebels got their first win against the Empire. And it's like, well, so wait a minute, this isn't the beginning of the story. This is just kind of a snapshot of something going on. Well, what happened before? You just have all these questions. I think that's what fueled the Star Wars fandom for years and years and years. And we still have an unanswered question. So
we do, and there's a lot. There's a different perspective of the different. I'm going to call it generations of Star Wars. You've got the original trilogy, right? And then you've got the 1990s stuff, and then you've got the more modern stuff. So are you the bigger fan of the original three, or do you like something that's come
I think
later?
it's a generational thing, probably. So I guess what do you call it, OG or whatever? Yeah. So the original three are definitely my favorites. I like the three prequels that came out in the 90s and the early 2000s. Didn't like them as much, but they kind of got better. The last three, I think they were still growing on me. I was hoping to see Luke go in a different direction than he did, but I'm not the writer or the director, so I guess I have no voice.
Right. So if somebody was going to watch the whole Star Wars thing, would you encourage them to start at A New Hope and to literally go in the order that the movies were released, or to go all the way to the first episode and then watch them in order, even though the technology, the filmmaking and stuff is not necessarily going to be, it's not going to follow because we had better technology later in filmmaking than we did back in the 70s when the first one was released. So
Right.
what's the better way to approach that if I've never seen Star Wars?
I would encourage people to watch them in the order that they came out. And the reason for that is, for what I said earlier, when you watch the original three, there's a lot of questions. I mean, if you're really into the story, there's a lot of questions that come up on why is this and why is that and so forth. And then the prequels help answer some of that stuff. I think if you watch them start to finish, then, from episode 1 to episode 9, you get a more congruent story that way. But I don't know that you capture the same kind of magic.
So tell me this: do you have any original of the action figures or the Star Wars cards? Do you collect any of the memorabilia or any of the old toys?
I do find some trinkets and treasures out there every so often that for me mean something for one reason or the other, so I'll buy them. So I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, just to have a cool toy.
So how do you feel about this? If you walk into, we've converted the garage into a big giant game room, and there's a big 12-foot bar in there,
right.
And right up on top is one of these 48-inch Darth Vaders, and it scares the goodness out of my wife every time she walks in, and I think it's great.
Is that the one that they were selling like 5-6 years ago?
It is.
So I have one of those as well. I have the 48-inch and then the smaller one, the 20. It's like 24 inches,
right,
I guess.
Right.
And they both stand right next to my giant Godzilla. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. So, real quick, in wrapping this up, thank you so very much for being a part of this. We appreciate it very much. And obviously, like I said, there's so much campaign material out there and ways to find that. I wanted to know more, and I know more about you right now than I did before. But my last question: why do you love Celina so much?
For me, like when I moved here in 2014, I didn't know anybody. I mean, I was born and raised in Dallas, but I finished college in the mid-'90s. I moved to Las Vegas, and I was there for 20 years. And, before social media really kind of took off, you just kind of lose contact with people, when you're geographically this far away. So, a lot of friends and so forth that I grew up with, we were just kind of on our different paths. Social media helped reconnect all that kind of stuff. But when I moved to Celina in 2014, I didn't know anybody, and getting involved with some volunteer work and stuff I've done on Main Street and so forth. I mean, every friend I have in Celina is a result of doing some volunteer work around here. And to answer your question on why I like Celina is, when I first moved here, I mean, in 2014, there was 4,000 or 5,000 people here. I mean, there wasn't that much. But man, I saw a lot of potential for the area. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of get involved in whatever small way I could help influence some things and people have fun along the way. I thought was a good thing to do, and I felt fortunate that our city leadership supports all that. I mean, we've done Star Wars on the square, we've done Superhero Night on the square, or Halloween event, and everything else. And I'm thankful our local leadership supports all that. I think it helps make Celina unique and a great place to live. And whatever small role I can play in making that happen, it makes you feel good. You can go to sleep at night knowing that you made a difference somewhere. And who knows? I mean, what started with the whole Star Wars thing, just on a quick side note, is I remember when we first started talking about that, and I thought to myself, as kids, most of us, something somewhere, someone took us to an event. It could have been our parents, aunt, uncle, whoever. Maybe you went with friends. But there was something you went to that even today you kind of look back on and you thought, man, it was so cool when we did blank, whatever that is. And for me, when we started planning Star Wars, that's what I thought, because I thought it was going to be a one-shot deal, So I said, let's try to make it as best we can this one time, because who knows, folks may decide I'm nuts and won't want to have me around or anything. So, we try to make it the best we could. And luckily it was a success. And, from that, we were able to build to a lot of the things that we have today. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I like about Celina. You can, if you want to get involved, you can. There's a lot of ways to do it. You're supported in doing it. The people here are fantastic. I mean, really, that's what it boils down to, is that if the people are good and willing, then everything else kind of takes care of itself. So we're lucky we got those kind of folks here, and that seems to be the kind of folks the area attracts. So that's good. And, have a fun time while doing all this stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Philip, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know it's been very informative for a lot of people, and you are our first of several interviews, regarding, and involved in the race and that sort of thing. But tell me this, will you come back on the show again later, regardless of how the race turns out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If we're talking Star Wars and Godzilla or Halloween type stuff, then I'm your guy.
So that is Philip Ferguson, or at least that's a little bit more about the person behind the name. And I just appreciate very, very much his willingness to come on SalinaRadio.com and open up a little bit about who he is, what he likes. It was greatness, and I am so very appreciative of that. So anyways, guys, these folks who put their name out there on the ballots to run for office, they endure a lot of scrutiny. They go through a lot of stress. It's hard on their families. It's hard on them. So I feel like the least we can do as Celina residents is get out and vote. So learn about all of these folks, learn what their platforms are, try to find out a little bit more about who the person is behind the name, and then get out there and use your vote to help turn Celina into the kind of city that you want it to be. All right, guys, that is episode 2 in the books. Thank you so very much for listening to SalinaRadio.com. I hope you're getting as much out of it as I am. It's an amazing experience, and it's just really, really, really fun to do. So if you're loving the vibe, if you're loving the show, do me a favor and share the show with people. Put it on your social media, share the episodes, talk to other people about it who you think might be interested in what we're doing. And you know what? You can always give me feedback as well. If you go on to SalinaRadio.com, down on the bottom right, there's a little blue button down there, and all you've got to do is hit that button, and it'll give you an option to record up to a 2-minute message that'll be then sent directly to me. And if it's something that, we need to play on one of the episodes coming up, then we'll certainly do that. Or if you just want to say, hey, here's a suggestion, or here's what I love, or here's an idea for you, then you know what? By all means, do that as well. So on that note, guys, I'm going to close out this episode and tell you that episode 3, Dan Williams running for school board, and I had a fantastic and fun time with him as well. He's a great guy, very, very passionate guy about what he's doing, and I think you're just going to love that episode. So anyways, guys, God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode.